Welcome back. Taking a deeper dive into the latest on the Russia-Ukraine conflict is the host of America Right Now, Tom Basili, breaking it all down for us at the Wall. Tom.
Kilmini, good afternoon and good to be with you. All right, let's take a look at where we are right now as Russian dictator Vladimir Putin ratcheting up the rhetoric today, comparing Western sanctions to an act of war. This as President Zelensky pleads with the United States for more lethal aid. Over here, let's take a look at the battle map. You can see Kharkiv is totally surrounded. Kherson and Melitopol both now under Russia control. This area over here is Mariupol. This is the area that is surrounded. It's the location of that ceasefire that was supposed to allow a humanitarian corridor there so civilians can evacuate. That has been suspended, according to the Ukraine Ministry of Defense, because of violations by Russia. Ukrainian officials in Mariupol also say that the Russians have bombed the train routes and other infrastructure, which would also make it very difficult for civilians to evacuate to begin with. Just so for perspective here, keep in mind, Ukraine is around the size of the state of Texas. So as you think about people leaving their homes and trying to seek refuge and trying to get out of the country, especially in this southern area, it is very difficult. It's quite a distance. And now that the Russians have taken Kherson and Mykolaiv down there, expect over the coming days potentially an assault on Odessa. Odessa is the country's third largest city and its main port. That assault may be a two-front approach on the ground from the east, but also from the Black Sea from the south, with the help of the Russian Navy, which is already in position there. Let's look at the other strategic moves that the Russians have been making. As you know, the Russian army now controls Europe's largest nuclear plant, Zaporizhzhia, which is over here. But we are also hearing that the Russians are only about 20 miles now from the other major power station in the south. Now, why is that important? Controlling electricity and essential services is critical to controlling the larger country. These big nuclear plants also provide the Russians with a strong strategic position that once they control it, it will be very difficult to eject them from due to the high risks associated with conducting military operations around these big nuclear facilities. Putin and the Russian army also now today being accused of war crimes by Amnesty International and the UN for a variety of reasons, in particular the shelling of civilian targets at these sites. They continue to ratchet up the shelling of these major cities and civil infrastructure. As the war intensifies and supplies are strained, we're also, of course, seeing that humanitarian crisis explode here. Now between 1.2 and 1.5 million people have fled the country, many of them to Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Moldova. It's the largest displacement in such a short period of time since World War II. So, Kilmeny, Russia continues to take big chunks out of this country, lots of red on the map, and the Ukrainian resistance is clearly buckling under the weight of the Russian advance.
All right, Tom, appreciate the bird's eye view there. Well, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky held a virtual phone call with U.S. senators and House members, pleading for more U.S. support in Ukraine. This is the White House is requesting Congress for $10 billion in humanitarian and military aid for Ukraine. Let's bring in Pennsylvania Congressman and combat veteran Scott Perry. Congressman, it's great to have you with us, and you have such an important perspective here, given the fact that you are a lawmaker in Washington and you do have this combat experience. What should Congress be doing in Ukraine right now to support it that it's currently not providing?
Well, what we should be doing is, quite honestly, flooding the country, the Ukrainians, with the armament that we can provide through the EU and through NATO. NATO and the EU should be buying this equipment, premier equipment from the United States of America, and to include Stinger missiles, to include anti-tank weapons and heavy machine guns, those type of things that can actually make a difference on the ground and in the air. The other thing that we absolutely must be doing, instead of the cheap talk that we're doing that's not really backed up with serious actions, is crippling Russia's economy. They are a petro economy, and there's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be cutting off not only our own purchases of Russian petroleum, but actually the world's purchases. And the other thing we should be doing is flooding the market with American petroleum so that the prices come down, not only for Americans, but across the globe in the global market, so it strangles the ability of Vladimir Putin to pay for this horrific exercise that he's conducting in Ukraine. And finally, we absolutely must be supporting the war crimes issue, not only for combatants on the ground on the Russian side, but for Vladimir Putin. He has to know, and they have to know, that we're coming for them. They're going to suffer the wrath. Even if they do eventually take Ukraine, they're going to end up in prison or worse. And they have to know about that right now so that they can put that into the risk assessment, whether this is worth the effort that they're taking to take over Ukraine, because it appears this is certainly the goal. And we don't know if the goal goes further than this, but we can't take that chance.
Congressman, you lay out so many thoughtful points. And during the week, I am the congressional correspondent for Newsmax. On Saturday, I'm the host of Saturday Agenda. So I cover this very intensely on Capitol Hill. And all week, I have been interviewing lawmakers in Washington, asking them about proposals floating around in both the House and the Senate for secondary sanctions. I heard Senator Lindsey Graham at his press conference calling for a resolution condemning Putin for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And we also know that there's a big divide right now on this $10 billion that the White House is asking Congress for, because Washington can't seem to agree on what pocket that money is going to come from. It's, you know, these are all great ways to support it. But how much confidence do you have when we see unity on this during State of the Union, but there's so much division happening behind the scenes?
I don't think the division needs to happen, quite honestly, and I don't think it will be there at the end. All we need is a little transparency from the administration. I think on the left and the right, we're all willing to do as much as we can, short of being in a ground war with in Ukraine or with Russia. But that having been said, I think most of us just want to know the granular details. How much in humanitarian assistance out of the $10 billion, and exactly what is it for? How does it get there? And what does it do for the people? On the military side, again, we need to know what we're buying, how it's going to get there. Is it aircraft that they can't use because they're not trained to fly them? Is it night vision goggles? Is it a premier technology that we wouldn't let somebody else have? We want the details, because we want to know, as the American people's representative, that it's actually going to make a difference, and if it's going to get to the battlefield on time. Those are important questions. They shouldn't be hard to answer, and we shouldn't be, quite honestly, there shouldn't be a division about the fact that we have those questions. I think the people in Ukraine would like to know the answers to those questions as well.
Well, speaking of the sense of urgency here, we did see bipartisan legislation introduced by Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski calling for the Russian ban on oil imports. But we also heard Manchin in his press conference on Thursday criticize comments from the White House press secretary and the deputy press secretary, saying Washington does not have a strategic interest in reducing the global supply of energy, adding that it would raise prices for Americans. How much hope does that give you if Congress and the Biden administration are not on the same page here?
Well, I think they're going to get on the same page. Remember, Senator Murkowski, not necessarily the most conservative Republican, and of course, Joe Manchin, a Democrat. When they're agreeing that we should increase our production, I think that there's a lot of room to talk. Maybe President Biden thinks the rhetoric is meaningful without the action, but it's clear that Democrats on Capitol Hill that are answering to their constituency, their bosses, think that we ought to not only cut off Russia's selling and cut off the United States purchasing of Russian oil, but also increase our production across the board. Gas, oil, transportation, all those things need to be on the table. And I think the conversation's wide open. Look, this is a bigger conversation. They're not fighting over solar panels and windmills in Ukraine and Russia. They're fighting over petroleum. And this is the reality of the world. And I think the woke green agenda left is going to have to be forced to acknowledge it. But I think it's coming.
Yeah, support there seems to be varied. Manchin speaking a little bit about using those resources here in the United States, but Pelosi saying she's for the ban on Russian oil, but not for drilling natural gas. Congressman Perry, great to have you with us.
All that does is raise the prices for Americans. All that does is raises prices for Americans. It's ridiculous. But yeah. God bless you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.